a couple of days ago, I went to the Fox Hills Mall where I bought this book from Malik's bookstore. I walked into Malik's bookstore and I was looking. I was trying to be responsible, a responsible adult by not asking for help when I walked in there. Trying to find a book. I figured I could walk in there. I could figure it out. I'll find the title that I'm looking for and then I'll leave. I couldn't I couldn't figure it out. They didn't have any names, any titles for the sections. Usually you find like travel, languages, business, history, autobiography, biography, whatever like that. I didn't see any titles. I was like looking at book covers and literally I had to judge the book by its cover to deduce what section I was looking at. So for instance, I went and I saw a lot of books that were about Black Panthers or they were written by Black Panthers. So I deduced that, oh, this is the Black Panther section, which it was. And then I saw a lot of books that had Islamic figures, Islam, like Nation of Islam people. And so that was like the Nation of Islam, section, sort of religion section, but I couldn't figure it out. And I was specifically looking for sci-fi because that's where Octavia E. Butler's book would be, in the sci-fi section. And surprisingly, it wasn't. I believe it was in young adult section. Or wait a minute, I could be wrong. It actually might have been the sci-fi section, but it wasn't labeled. Anywho, I had to ask. I was forced to ask the staff. I was like, the young lady who was behind the counter, I was like, where can I find this book? Or like, how, you know what? I asked her, how is this place set up? And just like a little bit, I got the sense that she was saying like, oh, it's pretty obvious the way it's set up. And I'm thinking to myself, no, it's not. And then she ran it down. She knew what sections, where everything was. And she was like, over here you have A, B, C, D, and E, and then F, G, and then over here you got this, and I'm just like, none of that is apparent to, um, the person just walking into the bookstore. So that's a critique of that's a personal, I guess, a pet peeve, a little personal critique of Malik's book at the Fox Hills Mall. But um, maybe it was designed that way. Maybe it was designed so that you would forget. You would forget to just look for titles, and you would just look at the books and peruse, walk through slowly and peruse the titles until you decided on something. But I don't know. But to me, I was trying to get in and get out. I wasn't trying to. I didn't have a lot of time. I needed to find what I wanted to find, and get it, and go. So it was kind of a little stressful situation there. All right. So that was Malik's book store at the Fox Hills Mall. Today they call it the what do they call it? The Culver City Westfield. Yep. Anyway, I picked up this book, and this is not the actual copy that I wanted to buy. The copy that I wanted to buy, it's a different edition, a different version, because it has a foreword written by not LeVar Burton, which is great. This copy is wonderful because it has LeVar Burton's, you know, foreword. But I wanted a different. I wanted the other book with the different foreword in it. Anywho, all right, that's my story about getting this book. But now, as far as reading it goes, where am I? I'm on page 44. I'm on page 44, and that's only, the story starts on page 31. So I've read 11 pages so far. That's it. But I also bought the audio book, so I listened to the audio book at night, and it's a wonderful read. The name of the religion that Octavia Butler creates or talks about in this book, the name of her religion is Earth Seed. Earth Seed. And so Um, like my religion is 109. It's right there, 109. But I'm not trying to I'm not trying to separate myself from Octavia Butler. I've gained inspiration from Octavia Butler. One, Octavia Butler. Two, John Coltrane. You know, they actually have a church for John Coltrane up in San Francisco. Um, Octavia Butler's religion needs a church. Um, so, you know, 109 is sort of a continuation. 109 is my personal desire to have a religion, to create a new religion. Earthseed was the characters in the book, not Octavia Butler's, but the characters' desire. But the character was so I identify with the character. So to make 109 real, I want to take Earthseed and pay homage to Octavia Butler and the character and say that Earthseed is the name of the religion and there are maybe 109 tenets in the religion or 109 seeds, right? Earthseed and 109 seeds, something like that. I don't know. But I think it's so. I don't think it's coincidental. I think it's something that's born out of our experience. Like it's a natural thing to think of religions. Yeah, it's natural because here we've got Octavia Butler with a story about a new religion, and then think about Jean-Michel Basquiat and his classmate Al Diaz. There they were, 16-year-old boys who were thinking about a new religion. That's where the whole Samo comes from. Samo came out of, Samo was the birth child of a school project in which Jean-Michel Basquiat wrote a story. Was it maybe a satire on world religions? And then he talked about, hey, there's a new religion. It's called Samo. And basically, the tenets of Samo follow this. You could do whatever you want in life, and then when you get to the pearly gates and St. Peter's, no, St. Gabriel, the archangel Gabriel, or maybe the Peter, St. Peter's at the gate. I don't know. You get to the gates, and the angel asks you or tells you, you can get in or you can't get in because you didn't do or you did these things in life. Um, if you follow the religion of Samo, you just tell them. I think it's St. Peter's. Tell St. Peter's, I didn't know. Like I didn't know I couldn't do that. I didn't know that was wrong. And because you were ignorant, because you said that you just didn't know, that's why you did that bad thing that you did. Then you were absolved of all sin, of all guilt, and you were ushered into heaven. That's what it means to be a Samoite, to believe in Samo. Get to the pearly gates and just say, "Well, I didn't know," and you get in. You get into heaven. That was the brainchild of like 16-year-old boys, Jean-Michel Basquiat and Al Diaz. So they have their religion, Samo, the religion of Samo. Octavia Butler's religion, Earth Seed. Earth Seed. Not specifically Octavia Butler, but the character. The character's name is Ola, I think. Ola, Oyatambo, or something like this. Oya. Lauren Oya Olamina is her name. And then my religion, although I'm neither a, how old is she? She's pretty young. She's a young girl in this story. And I'm not 16 years old. I'm 45. I'm 46 now. I'm 46. 109 is the name of the religion. So here's to creating a religion. Octavia Butler, Al Diaz, Jean-Michel Basquiat, 10-9. Why not? Um, I really love this book right here. I picked it up the other day because um, I went to a different bookstore. I didn't go to Malik's bookstore. I went to Vroman's bookstore in Pasadena. I was driving for Uber, and then I stopped at Vroman's. Apparently, Vroman's is like one of the oldest, if not the oldest, bookstore. It's been around since 1894. And when I saw the book cover, I recognized this picture immediately because when I was a young man, I would go to the museum, the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, LACMA, excuse me, and I would stare at this painting by Winslow Homer. See, I memorized the painter's name. It was a striking image, one that I just spent a lot of time just staring at because it really it spoke to me. And so I looked at that painting. I remembered it. I remembered its painter, the name. And so when I was walking through the bookstore, this old bookstore of Romans, and when I saw this book with this painting on it, I said, "Oh my gosh, I know that painting. Why on earth would the author choose that painting on the cover of her book?" I thought, "Wow, I'm intrigued. I want that book." There I go, judging a book by its cover. I read the title, Dessa Rose. I read the name of the author, and I've never heard of her. But then I read a little quote from Toni Morrison, acclaimed author Toni Morrison, and then I'm hooked. I'm like, oh my gosh, if Toni Morrison co-signed this author, then I know it's got to be good, right? Toni Morrison says, having this treasure of a book, this book is a treasure. Having this treasure of a book available again for new and more readers is not only necessary, but it is not only necessary, it is imperative. So I was like, oh, I'm buying that. And then the sad part about it is that this was on the bargain book area, bargain book display. And I was like, oh, you're going to have a book with the slave girls on the cover, and it's going to be in the bargain book section because no one wants to read it, or because it's being thrown to what is it? Trash bin of history or something. What is it? It's being discarded. That's terrible. So I grabbed it. I said, I need it. I need it. I did not see the quote from Alice Walker on the back until today. Alice Walker, the acclaimed author Alice Walker said, "A deep, rich, compelling work. I am astonished, moved, and delighted with the language, the thought, the obvious collaboration of the ancestors, and the love I read on these pages. Beautiful." So I was convinced I need that book. And then when I got home, I began to do some research about the author, Shirley Ann Williams, and she was a Californian, but sadly she's deceased. And I'm like, why am I learning about these deceased, brilliant black, authors, painters, you name it, filmmakers, photographers? Why am I learning so late about these brilliant black people? That's my beef. Why? Why is it so late? And and why do I feel like I am alone in this journey to learn about these people? Because it's like the mainstream isn't talking about them. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of or knows. I personally don't know anyone who knows Shirley Ann Williams. I mean, that isn't saying much because I haven't talked with anyone. I haven't asked anyone if they know. The one person I would ask is Melissa. Melissa reads a lot. I'm sure if there's anyone who would know, it would be Melissa. I have to ask Melissa about this author, see if she knows it. But that's it. This is this is a great book. And then I'm so saddened just by the fact that she's deceased. She died of cancer. So that was like, that's a bummer. Octavia Butler, I believe she died. She fell and she might have hit her head or something like that. I don't know. Octavia Butler is deceased. Shirley Ann Williams is deceased. That's sad, you know? But these are black women. I remember, heck, I remember when I was in college and I had to read Tony K. Bambara's story, Raymond's Run, short story. And even then, we're talking like, was it 30 years ago? Yeah, almost 30 years ago. I was in college reading Raymond's Run, and I was reading about the author, and I discovered that she was deceased. Another black author, black woman, black female author who was deceased, whose work I was reading about, and I was just like, dang, that's sad, man. Sad, y'all. Sad, sad, sad. But you know what's not sad is this book, The Epic of Heaven and Earth Association. You know, I got it signed by Doodlebug himself from Diggable Planets. Yep. And the cool connection that I have with this book is that he had it printed by the same people who printed my book entitled 109 at Paul Coates's company, Black Classic Press. Black Classic Press printed this work right here. Yep. Shout out to the Black Panther. Shout out to the Coates family. Y'all know Ta-Nehisi Coates. Yep. His father, Paul Coates. Yep, yep, yep. Where we go, where we go, where we go. Black Classic Press, y'all. The Epic of Heaven and Earth Association. All right, that's all I wanted to talk to you about, these books that I have here. Sharing some information with you all. Peace and blessings.